For today's video, we're going to take a look at all of the weapons that got a buff in last week's patch. And basically, we're going to take a look at all of the weapons that got the biggest buffs, and we're also going to take a look at the weapons that have the biggest damage numbers after last week's patch. Big shout out to DayZen for providing us with this information, and I'll leave a link in the description to where I found it if you want to go check it out. Also, big shout out to Biscuit, Filthy, and Tim for giving us some maxed out versions of these weapons to try out. So here's the complete list of shotguns, and to the right of that you can see their original damage numbers. In the next column you can see the damage numbers after last week's patch, and towards the far right you can see the difference. So the ones that are in green are the ones that got the bigger buffs, and the ones that are in red are the ones that didn't get any buff or got nerfed. And here's the loadout I'm going to use while we test out the shotguns. But yeah, as you can tell by this list, the ground pounder got the biggest buff, so that's the one we're going to take a look at. And here are the perks that we have on it. So we're going to go ahead and test it out against the power level 132 smasher, and we killed him like within a second. Wow, definitely better than it used to be. Obviously it's going to use more ammo than other shotguns, but with that quick fire rate, the time to kill is still really good. And according to this list, the double boiler deals the most damage after last week's patch, so I also want to test that one out. And when it comes to the double boiler, we dealt 1.9 million damage on our first shot. We almost one-shot him, and over 2 million damage on our second shot. So definitely one of the best shotguns in the game at the moment. And here are the perks that we have on our double boiler. But yeah, we're not going to go through each of these. I just wanted to show the one that got the biggest buff, which was the ground pounder. Next up, we're going to take a look at the assault weapons. And here's the loadout we're going to use while we test it out. And the top 3 ARs that got the biggest buff was Death Ray, Venditech Pulsar, and the Steam Piston. One thing I noticed is that it didn't seem like the ARs got a big buff. A lot of them actually didn't get a buff at all. But we're going to go ahead and try out the Steam Piston since that got the biggest buff. And then we'll try out the Rat King since that deals the most damage per shot. And I'm going to be honest, this was one of my least favorite weapons before last week's patch. So yeah, that's what the Steam Piston looks like. It does feel a little bit better, but still not one of the best ARs in my opinion. And here are the perks that we had on the Steam Piston. And I also want to quickly try out the Rat King since it has the highest damage numbers on this list. Keep in mind you should probably use the Rat King with first shot Rio, but we're going to go ahead and try it out with the loadout that we're using now. So yeah, that's what the Rat King looks like. And here are the perks that we have on our Rat King. But when it comes to ARs, they didn't get as big of a buff as some of the other weapon classes. Here's all the buffs that were made to pistols. As you can see, the Space Invader and the Venditech Blaster got the biggest buffs. And I also want to show what the Jack's Revenge looks like since it deals the most damage on paper. And here's the loadout that we're going to use while we try out the pistols. It's also the same loadout we're going to use when we try out SMGs a little bit later. So first up, we're going to try the Space Invader. And this is one of the few weapons I didn't review before last week's patch, so I can't really compare it, but we're going to go ahead and try it out against the Smasher. And it does have bullets that ricochet, which is why I put walls around him. Oh yeah, we killed him like within less than a second. And here are the perks that we have on the Space Invader. Next up, we're going to try the Venditech Blaster, and this is a weapon I have tried before. It only took us 4 shots to kill him, and I think that last one was like over 400,000. Definitely feels like we're dealing more damage with it now than we did the last time we tried it. So those are the 2 pistols that got the biggest buffs. And I also want to show what the Jack's Revenge looks like since it deals the most damage on paper. And we did 2.5 million with the Jack's Revenge. And here are the perks that we have on the Jack's Revenge. Next up, we're going to take a look at the SMGs. And the Founder's Quick Shot and the Thrasher got the biggest buffs. So we're going to take a look at those, and we're also going to take a look at the Blastertron Mini, since it looks like it deals the most damage. But first we're going to start off with the Founder's Quick Shot. And here are the perks that we have on it. And I have tried the Quick Shot once before a long time ago. It does feel a little bit better, but still not as good as some other SMGs. So yeah, it still took us at least 2 magazines to kill him. And although the Thrasher and Quick Shot both have similar stats, we're going to go ahead and try it out anyways, since it also got a big buff, and we were able to kill him within just 1 magazine. But yeah, the Thrasher actually feels pretty good. And here are the perks that we had on the Thrasher. Come on, Smasher, where you at?
I never understood wind, and I know windmills very much.
And I know this one didn't get a buff, but I still want to try out the Blastatron Mini since it deals the most damage out of SMGs. And it still feels like a really good SMG in my opinion. And we were able to kill him within just one magazine using the Blastatron as well. But again, there was no change when it comes to the Blastatron Mini. Just wanted to show what it looked like compared to the other ones. And here are the perks that we had on the Blastatron Mini. So yeah, the Thrasher and the Blastatron Mini actually felt pretty good, but the Founder's Quick Shot did feel a little bit weaker compared to those two. But yeah, like I said, the SMGs really didn't get a huge buff with last week's patch. Next up, we're going to take a look at the explosive weapons. And it looks like the original grenade launchers, the Easter egg launcher, thumper, snowball launcher, all got the biggest buffs. The Jacko launcher and vacuum tube launcher also got a pretty decent buff. And we're also going to show an example of the Storm King's Wrath, since that one has the highest number. But first we're going to start off with the Easter egg launcher. And here's the loadout we're going to use with explosive weapons. And when it comes to the Easter egg launcher, it took us 2 magazines to kill him. Definitely better than it used to be. And here are the perks that we have on our Easter egg launcher. And I also want to try out the Wrath since it deals the most damage out of all launchers. And we did 2.9 million with the Wrath. You can still one-shot smashers with it. And here are the perks that we had on the Wrath. But yeah, that's what the buffed Easter egg looks like compared to the Wrath. Next up, we're going to try the Sniper. And the Crossbow and the Heartbreaker got the biggest buffs out of all of the snipers. And we're also going to try out the Yeoman since it has the second highest number in this list. Also, this is the loadout that we're going to use while we try out the sniper rifles. So we're going to go ahead and try out the Heartbreaker since I have it maxed out. And we were able to deal 1.8 million damage with it. We almost one-shot him. So even though the Heartbreaker has the highest number, it doesn't deal the most damage because we were able to deal 2 million damage with the Love Song Bow and the Night Owl Bow. So just because it has the highest number in the list doesn't necessarily mean that it deals the most damage. Just thought I should clarify that. And again, the Military Crossbow got the same buff that the Heartbreaker got, but we're going to go ahead and try out the Yeoman as well since it had the second highest number. So I also want to try that out. And we were able to deal 1.7 million damage with it. And it took us 2 shots to kill the Smasher. So we did deal more damage with the Heartbreaker than we did with the Yeoman. So it does look like the Crossbow and Heartbreaker are pretty good now. But yeah, when it comes to the weapons that were buffed, the old grenade launchers feel like they're a lot stronger. The Crossbow and Heartbreaker also feel a lot stronger. Pistols felt a little bit better. I didn't really notice a huge difference between the assault rifles and SMGs. They sort of feel similar. And when it comes to shotguns, they feel a lot more powerful. So I would say the shotguns and the snipers and the old grenade launchers got the biggest buffs with last week's patch. But yeah, those are all the weapons we're going to take a look at for today. If there's any other weapons that got buffs that you all would like us to try out and review, then let us know in the comments below. And before I go, again, big shout out to Dazen for putting this together for everybody. And big shout out to Biscuit, Filthy, and Tim for giving us maxed out versions of these weapons. But yeah, that'll do it for this one. Hope y'all found the video useful, and thanks for watching.